welcome to No Broken Legs. I am Evan Belfiore. Joining me on the phone is Jimmy Champ. Jimmy, how are you tonight?
Man, I'm feeling great, brother. Glad we're still talking some NFC. We're about done with our division carousel. So, man, I'm excited to get into the NFC South.
Yeah, two divisions left, the South and the West, and today we talk about the NFC South, home to the returning Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Jimmy, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are plus 650 to win the Super Bowl. They are plus 300 to win the NFC. They are minus 200 to win the NFC South, and their over-under sits at 11.5. Do the Tampa Bay Buccaneers win more than 11.5 games and win the NFC South, Jimmy?
I don't know how anybody looked at that and thought 11 games. Like, I legitimately think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to go 15-2 with their schedule.
Wow. When I first looked at this, I thought Tampa was going to go under just because I think they just caught fire there at the end and people were overestimating them in that capacity. But the more I looked at their schedule and the more I looked at the other teams, I went, this is madness. This team's going to win at least 14 games.
Yeah. It's not like, I don't know how good the Buccaneers are. I'll definitely bet them to win the NFC South. Probably bet them to win. Actually, I probably won't bet them to win the NFC because I truthfully believe the Rams are going to the Super Bowl from the NFC. But it wouldn't surprise me if the Buccaneers made it out of the NFC because in that vacuum of Tom Brady is Tom Brady, and the defense is still really good. But their schedule just sets up so nice. They don't have a lot of losable games. If they just continue to compete, I think they'll be absolutely. To me, this is a steal. Like this over is an absolute steal.
Yeah, like I said, I wanted to pick the under here just because of how I came into this. Just thinking about them in the offseason, you have Tom Brady has been hit or miss the last couple of regular seasons. He hasn't been fantastic. But, obviously last year in the playoffs, he was great. But like you said, you look at their schedule and there's no way this team isn't winning a ton of games.
No, I mean.
And that defense has just a lot of speed.
Yeah.
And they can handle teams that like to spread out and throw the ball all over the place, which is why they gave Kansas City a lot of trouble. And they would have given Kansas City trouble even if Kansas City's line had been healthy.
Yeah,
it's still a lot to navigate out there. So
yeah,
I can see the defense kind of carrying them for a little while the offense maybe gets into a rhythm. Brady's notorious for having slow Septembers that happened all the time when they were in New England.
Yeah,
but man, once they start rolling, this team should be pretty good. I kind of think this will be the NFC's version of the Bills this year. I think they're going to score a lot of points, and they're just going to beat. There's just going to be a couple of weeks where we're like, wow, that might be the best team in the league.
Yeah, I mean, because I think even if Brady comes out slow, now that they've all had time together, even if he comes out slow, I think it's really hard to cover Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Antonio Brown. Who knows what Gronk will give you, but I still like the tight ends behind him. And if they need to run the ball more, I still think Leonard Fournette is a pretty good running back in the NFL, especially with one of the best O-lines in the league in front of him. But I think you nailed it with the defense, man. They have one of the best linebacker cores in the league. They're fast. They tackle. I love Antoine Winfield Jr. Their secondary is good, and that lets their defensive line just attack. I just think this team, but I agree with you. I think they are going to have one of the more impressive regular seasons I think we've seen in a while, because I agree with you. I think they're going to score a ton of points. The only caveat for me, and obviously if something would happen to Brady, they would make some moves, because as of right now, the only other quarterbacks on their roster are Blaine Gabbert and Kyle Trask. So if something would happen to Brady, they'd have to make a move there at quarterback. But yeah, I think they're set up to have a great regular season. I do think the NFC Championship game is a ceiling for them, because I think the Rams are better. So we'll see how that plays out. But I think they're going to have a great regular season.
Yeah, and since we both think they're going to have a great regular season, I don't really like any of the Tom Brady player props, and that's mostly because he's been so inconsistent in the regular season. I worry about a 4 to 6 week stretch where maybe he's just okay and that just kills his numbers for the season. But he's plus 1,200 for MVP. And if this team wins 14 or 15 games and Tom Brady's as good as we all expect him to be, he's going to be in that conversation, and the voters are going to want to push that narrative. He's a very strong candidate when it comes to the narrative. And we saw that last year with, I'm still trying to figure out how Patrick Mahomes was an MVP, because he was the MVP until week 15. And then all of a sudden, this just tidal wave of media support came in for Aaron Rodgers, and it just, everything swung. So look for something like that again this year. And I would say if we see that again this year, that's something all bettors should be taken into account with their preseason MVP picks.
Yeah, and it's something we talk about a lot, that the NFL really needs to, one place they need to change. They need to keep their league MVP, but they also need to have, they need to figure out, I don't know, they need to figure out a way to differentiate MVP from best player, because they're just, they
were, I think the goal of the offensive and defensive players of the year was to solve that. But to your point, I don't think it's really solved that issue.
Yeah. I don't think it's worked either, but I agree with you. But I would say stay away from all the player props for the Buccaneers on the plus side. If you look at one that you're like, man, that seems kind of crazy, I'd be okay betting against some for going under, just because Brady, regular season statistics at this point don't matter to Tom Brady. He doesn't care how many yards he throws as long as his team wins the game and he gets home field advantage in the playoffs. Like, he's not trying to go play a playoff game in Green Bay.
No, and he's also, the way that offense works, 1 week Scotty Miller may put up $150 with 2 touchdowns, and he might not catch a pass the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Exactly. So I would stay away, but I do like the Brady MVP bet. I would agree with you on everything you said there. I think that's good.
All right. Anything further on Tampa Bay? We're going to talk a lot about Tampa Bay because they're going to be good. So we probably don't need
good on Tampa Bay.
Go too in depth at the start of the season. The team that I think is the most interesting to watch this season is New Orleans. They have the second best odds. They are plus 350 to win the South, and their over-under is 9 games, Jimmy. I don't like this Saints team. I don't think you like this Saints team either.
No, this is a hammer the under for me. I have the Saints winning 5 games.
Wow. I almost did a spit take there.
Yeah, I think we are on the precipice of the end of the Sean Payton era. Storms have again chased them out of their homes, but this time they don't have Drew Brees to be that in the huddle to
you don't trust Jameis Winston to carry the flag for them.
No, as a leader, absolutely not. You can rank Drew Brees wherever you want in all-time QB performance. Like, I get some people have him more to the top 3, more people have him towards the bottom of the top 10. I'm fine with either. But his ability to lead a team through any and everything just can't be questioned. And there's no reason to believe Jameis Winston has that now. Like, statistically, Jameis was really good the last year he started. There were a lot of, chasing in games that gave him more yards and touchdowns. But I don't like the Saints team. Alvin Kamara is by far the best player on the team. We don't really know what's going on with Michael Thomas. I don't trust Jameis Winston, and I don't trust Sean Payton to keep Taysom Hill out of the daggum lineup.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I just don't know what we're going to see from Jameis Winston. I'm going to be interested to watch their games and see what happens. And the Michael Thomas saga, it's so weird what's been going on the last 2 seasons there. And I think you're right with Drew Brees out of there. I think this is the season, if it's going to happen, where a lot of the players on that team might look at Sean Payton and lose faith in him.
Yep.
So yeah, if I didn't make it clear, I'm also taking the under on the Saints. I don't think they're going to be 5-12, but I don't see how they get past 7 or 8 wins.
Yeah,
now,
I don't like. I think it's going to be a really rough year for the Saints, and I think it may be time for Sean Payton to go ahead and head to the booth. Go ahead, take that CBS or Fox money, He's a very charismatic guy. I don't think he'd want to coach anywhere but the Saints. But I think the Sean Payton era, in my opinion, I think it's about over. We'll see. Maybe Jameis will surprise us, but I don't trust it.
All right. Well, we'll go from a team we do agree on the New Orleans Saints to a team we do not agree on, the Atlanta Falcons. They are plus 800 to win the NFC South. And Jimmy, their over-under sits at 7.5. I like the over. You like the under. Tell me why.
All right. So everybody, bear with me here for a little bit. Evan thinks the Falcons have a chance to be good, and he'll have his chance to retort. But I think this Falcons team, I don't think they could have made a bigger mistake than hiring Arthur Smith to be their head coach. This guy, somehow he gets hired over guys like Bieniemy and Byron Leftwich, well, whatever. But he got this position because of the super efficient offenses he ran in Tennessee. I'm pretty sure I can run a pretty efficient offense with Derrick Henry at running back. I mean, there was nothing fancy about the passing game. It was max protect, play action, a little bit of rollout with Tannehill, good wide receivers winning battles. I don't think the Falcons are going to have the personnel to do anything that Arthur is going to want them to do. Dean Pease is back in the league as a defensive coordinator, so if nothing else, their defense will go get sacks. So I like that. But I just don't think this team is going to be good at all. I think they have maybe 5 winnable games on their schedule. I think it's going to be a really rough year for them. Their defense still looks suspect. They have a couple skill players I like. I don't know. I mean, Matt Ryan's they've kind of been through the ringer lately. He may check out of this season very, very early. I do like Mike Davis because I think you should get 1 billion carries in this offense, trying to become Derrick Henry. Good luck to you, Mike Davis. But I think this Falcons team's in trouble, man.
So here was my reasoning on the Falcons. They have a new coach, and I don't think either one of us like Dan Quinn.
No.
And I like this to be sort of Matt Ryan's last hurrah, even though it's not going to be that much of a hurrah, because I don't think the team's really all that good. But 7.5 is a very low number, and I don't like the Saints. I don't like the Panthers. I had to find a team to finish second in the NFC South, and I took Atlanta because when I look at the quarterback, I like Matt Smith. I'm totally blanking on the tight end. Pitts,
yeah.
Pitts. That kid looks excellent.
Yeah.
He looks every bit as good as we expect him to be. And I can maybe see a new coach, a new weapon, revitalizing Matt Ryan for another year, and that team having a little extra hitch in their giddy up. And I guess we can kind of bleed into the Panthers here. I just looking at, I don't like the Saints, so somebody's got to finish second in the division. And I look at the Panthers, and I just see a team that I don't like at all. So
I like this is one of my favorite divisions so far because I like it when we don't just completely agree on everything. I was very high on the Panthers last year. They let me down a little bit, but I'm still in on Matt Rule and Joe Brady.
So the Panthers, their over-under sits at 7.5. I took the under on them. I would assume you're taking the over then?
Well, I'm actually taking the under because I think they win 7 games. I can't in good faith say that I believe Sam Darnold is going to win 8 games.
Okay, so real quick, before we get into that, let's finish up with the Falcons.
Okay.
I don't know if Arthur Smith is going to be a good head coach. I know he's not. Can't be worse than Dan Quinn was in late game moments. So I think that helps them a little bit. Sort of, I think there's some pieces in Atlanta, and if they're going to be good if they're going to be good with Matt Ryan on that roster for another season, it's going to be this year. I don't see how that team's going to get better over the next 2 to 3 years. So I feel like this might be like a little semi bounce back before they're bad for a couple of years.
Yeah, and no, you're not wrong. Like, if Arthur Smith can figure it out pretty quick, Matt Ryan can still throw the football. Like I said, Mike Davis is okay. I do love that Calvin Ridley gets to be a wide receiver one now, which his skill set has him as a wide receiver one. And I agree with you. Michael Pitts has looked fantastic. I don't know what the tight end rookie records are for yards, catches, and touchdowns, but there's a chance Michael Pitts might smash all of them. But I don't trust Arthur Smith at all, man. I mean, we saw every single game where the Tennessee Titans, where it went off script early, he never could call a game plan to get them back in the game. Never.
Well, he does also have Ryan Tannehill.
True. And I would say Matt Ryan is still better than Ryan Tannehill, my personal opinion.
Yeah, and that's what I think. That's what I think too.
But we've long established we're anti Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah. So I think that's enough on the Falcons. It really seems like I think what I think about the Falcons is what you think about the Panthers and vice versa.
Yep.
Are we ready? Are you still on the Matt Rule is a good coach bandwagon, or are you starting to think he's not a good coach like I am?
I am going to give him this season to see what it looks like.
Okay, that's probably fair.
When we do, like, I could fully understand where you're coming from right now. I want to give him this year, see what he does with Sam Darnold. Because if Sam Darnold looks like Sam Darnold from New York, then we know he's probably not a very good evaluator of talent. This could be the greatest coaching job ever by Joe Brady if he can make the Panthers good, though.
And that's the other reason I don't like the Carolina Panthers this year. Sam Darnold does not look like he knows how to play quarterback in the NFL. Granted, he was playing on the New York Jets, and the Jets are known to make people look bad at playing quarterback in the NFL, but there's something, I don't know, there's just something about him and the way he seems to carry himself and the way guys, there seems to be a little bit of a disconnect. It doesn't seem like guys really love playing for him.
Yeah, you're probably not wrong there. But yeah, I think that's really just where it is. I think the Panthers will be the team to finish second, and you think it'll be the Falcons.
Yeah, and again, it really just comes down to I like Matt Ryan more than I like Sam Darnold, and I have fewer questions, I guess, about Arthur Smith than I do Matt Rule, although...
Fair enough.
Matt Rule, and we'll get to him in our final segment, Cliff Kingsbury in Arizona were two college coaches that came up with a lot of publicity, Jimmy. They might both finish last in their division this season. How do you think that'll shake out for Rule in Carolina if they struggle again?
Man, they kind of gave him the keys to the castle, so I think they got to probably hang with him for a couple more years.
Yeah, I mean, they should, but I would think that going out and getting Sam Darnold seems to be a move, and I think I mentioned this when we talked about Teddy Bridgewater with Denver. This seems to be a move to get out of the middle. Either Sam Darnold's good and you actually have a quarterback that you can do something with moving forward, or Sam Darnold's not good and you just cut him and you draft a quarterback in the top 5 next year, which would seem that they're giving Matt Rule this season to see if he can figure out Darnold and then draft his guy, and then you'd think he'd have 2 more years after that. But how many times did we think that would be the method that happened in Cleveland, only to have the coach fired in week 13 because the team looked like a disaster?
Yep. No, absolutely. Like I said, it'll be a very interesting season for the Panthers.
Yeah, they're gonna need to win at least. They're gonna need to get close to that 7.5 number, I think, or things are gonna get. The natives will be restless in Carolina.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, that went pretty quickly. Any final thoughts on the NFC South, Jimmy?
No, I think it's just pretty much going to be the Buccaneers running over everybody, and either the Panthers or the Falcons being decent.
Yeah, and we'll see. It's just, again, the 3 interesting teams are the ones at the bottom: the Saints, the Falcons, the Panthers. A lot of question marks. It'll be interesting to see how those teams come out of the gate the first couple of weeks, because that's probably going to set the tone for where they go all season.
Yep.
All righty. Well, Jimmy, thank you for joining me again.
No place I'd rather be, brother.
Alrighty, for Jimmy Champ, I'm Evan Belfiore, and you're listening to No Broken Legs.